My name is Lena, and I'm 22 years old. The day I asked my parents if they picked up my prescription medication, my father casually replied, "We used that money to buy your sister's new phone instead." The room went silent. What happened next revealed a family secret so devastating that it would change everything I thought I knew about the people who were supposed to protect me. If you're watching this video right now, I'd love to know where you're from. Drop it in the comment section below. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about families, betrayal, and finding the strength to choose yourself. The fluorescent lights in the chemistry lab started swimming before my eyes like I was underwater. I blinked hard, trying to focus on the beaker in my hand, but the edges of my vision went fuzzy and dark. My lab partner Marcus was saying something about the pH levels, but his voice sounded like it was coming from the end of a long tunnel. Then my knees just gave out. I remember the cold tile floor hitting my palms first, then my knees, then somehow I was on my side with people crowding around me. Marcus kept saying my name. Lena? Lena, can you hear me? And I wanted to tell him yes, I could hear him, I was fine, just tired. But my tongue felt thick and my chest was tight, and I couldn't quite catch my breath. Someone must have called campus security because the next thing I knew, there were hands helping me sit up, voices asking if I needed an ambulance. I managed to shake my head and croak out that I was okay. Just tired. Just stressed. Just hadn't eaten breakfast. The usual excuses. But even as I said them, I knew something was wrong. This wasn't the first time. It was just the first time it had happened in front of witnesses. I dragged myself to the campus health clinic that afternoon, mostly because Marcus threatened to call my parents if I didn't. The waiting rooms smelled like antiseptic and old magazines. I filled out the intake form with shaking hands, checking no for most of the questions even though I probably should have checked yes for more of them. The doctor who saw me was young, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes that got less kind the longer he looked at my vitals. He frowned at the blood pressure cuff reading, frowned deeper at my pulse ox, asked me to follow his finger with my eyes, squeeze his hands, push against his palms. "How long have you been having neurological symptoms?" he asked, his pen hovering over his notepad. I hesitated. Admitting it out loud made it real. "I don't know. A few months? Maybe longer. Define the symptoms for me." So I told him. The dizzy spells that came out of nowhere. The way my hands would go numb sometimes, like I'd been sitting on them wrong except I hadn't. The headaches that felt like something was squeezing my skull from the inside. The ringing in my ears that would start up at random times and wouldn't stop for hours. He didn't write any of this down. He just stared at me with this expression I couldn't quite read. Concern, maybe. Or alarm. "Why didn't you come in sooner?" he asked quietly. Because my parents would have told me I was being dramatic. Because my sister Ava had state championships and piano recitals and a million other things that mattered more than my headaches. Because in my family, I'd learned a long time ago that my problems were always somehow less important than everyone else's. But I didn't say any of that. I just shrugged. I thought it would go away. He ran blood tests. Made me do some kind of coordination test where I had to touch my nose and then his finger over and over. Shined lights in my eyes until I saw spots. The whole time, his frown just kept getting deeper. When he was done, he printed something out and sealed it in an envelope. His hands, I noticed, were very steady as he handed it to me. "You need to take these medications immediately," he said. "Not suggested. Not recommended. Need. And you need to follow up with a neurologist within the week. Not next month. Not when you have time. Within the week." My stomach did this awful twisting thing. "Is it serious?" "Serious enough that you shouldn't wait." He held my gaze. "I mean that, Lena. Don't put this off." I took the envelope with numb fingers. It felt heavier than paper should feel. I called home from my dorm room that night, sitting cross-legged on my bed with a sealed envelope on my nightstand. My mom answered on the third ring, her voice bright and distracted. "Lena. Sweetie, how are classes going?" "Mom, I need to tell you something." My voice came out shakier than I wanted. "I went to the health clinic today. The doctor ran some tests and he's really concerned. He gave me a prescription that I need filled right away and... Oh, honey, is it just stress?" You've always been such a worrier. I closed my eyes.
No, ma'am.
It's not stress. He said I have neurological symptoms and I need medication immediately and I need to see a specialist within a week. There was a pause. I could hear the TV in the background, some reality show my dad always watched. Okay, my mom said finally. We'll pick up the prescription tomorrow.
Don't worry about it.
Just focus on your studies, okay? Relief flooded through me. Really? Thank you. The doctor seemed really serious about it. Lena, we've got it handled. My dad's voice came through, slightly muffled like he'd leaned over my mom's shoulder. Don't stress yourself out. We'll take care of everything. You just concentrate on school. Thank you, I whispered. I was really scared. No need to be scared, sweetie. We're your parents. We'll always take care of you. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in days. They were going to handle it. Everything was going to be okay. I went home that weekend, partly because I wanted to make sure they'd picked up the medication, and partly because I just needed to see my family. The house looked the same as always. The maple tree in the front yard dropping leaves everywhere. My dad's truck in the driveway, the porch light that flickered because he kept meaning to fix it but never did. Inside, I found my little sister Ava sprawled on the living room couch, completely absorbed in her brand new iPhone. Not just any iPhone. The latest model. The one that cost more than my textbooks for the entire semester. Nice phone, I said, dropping my bag by the stairs. Ava glanced up, her face lighting up. Right, Mom? And Dad surprised me with it yesterday. It has this amazing camera, and I can edit my videos right on the phone, and… Lena. My mom appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish rag. You're early. I wasn't expecting you until dinner. My dad followed her out, grinning. There's our college girl. How's the chemistry major treating you? We all settled in the living room, and for the next hour, I listened to Ava talk about her upcoming school project. Something about a multimedia presentation that required professional-grade equipment, which apparently justified the new phone. My parents hung on her every word, asking questions, offering suggestions, beaming with pride. I waited for a break in the conversation. Hey, so about my medication. Oh, Lena, not now. My dad waved a hand. Your sister is telling us about her project. I know, but the doctor said it was urgent. Sweetie, you're just overworked. My mom patted my knee absently, her attention still on Ava. College is stressful. You need to relax more. Ava shot me this look, not quite smug, but close. The look that said, see? I matter more. I'd seen that look my whole life. I tried again at dinner. Did you pick up my prescription? Your sister needs us more right now, my dad said, passing the salad bowl. She's got that big presentation next month. Something cold settled in my chest. But the doctor said, doctors always make things sound worse than they are, my mom interrupted. Remember when Ava had that cold and they said it might be pneumonia? It was just a cold. This is different. Is it though? My dad raised an eyebrow. You've always been a bit dramatic about your health, honey. I put my fork down. My appetite was gone anyway. That night, I woke up gasping for air. My room was dark except for the streetlight filtering through the curtains. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My fingers, both hands, were completely numb, like they'd been replaced with blocks of wood. I tried to sit up, and the room tilted violently sideways. I grabbed for my nightstand and missed, my numb hands clumsy and useless. Managed to get myself upright through sheer force of will. Sat there on the edge of my bed, breathing hard, trying not to panic. This was worse than the lab. Worse than any of the previous episodes. I needed that medication. Tonight. I stumbled downstairs, one hand on the wall for balance. The kitchen was dark. I flipped on the light and immediately spotted the counter where my mom always put pharmacy pickups. Nothing. Just Ava's phone box, some accessories she'd ordered, a stack of mail.
No pharmacy bag. No medication.
I checked the other counter, the table, even opened the fridge in case someone had put it in there by mistake. Nothing. My hands were still numb. My head was starting to pound. And in that moment, Standing alone in my parents' kitchen at 2 in the morning, I felt scared in a way I'd never felt before. Not scared of what was happening to my body. Scared that my own family didn't care enough to help me. I waited until Sunday lunch to bring it up. Family tradition. Everyone had to be there, phones away, attention focused. They couldn't brush me off or change the subject when we were all sitting around the table together. At least, that's what I told myself. Ava was showing off her new phone's features, demonstrating the camera's zoom function on the flower arrangement Mom had placed in the center of the table. My parents were appropriately amazed. I sat quietly, my fingers still tingling with that awful numbness, a dizzy spell threatening at the edges of my awareness. I waited until there was a natural lull in the conversation. Then I asked, keeping my voice calm and casual, "Did you pick up my prescription?" The doctor said it was urgent. My dad didn't even look up from his iced tea. He took a long sip, set the glass down with a soft clink, and said, "Oh, we used that money to buy your sister's new phone. She needed it for school." The words didn't quite register at first. It was like my brain couldn't process what I'd just heard. I must have misunderstood. He couldn't have actually just said. Ava was scrolling through her phone, not even pretending to look guilty. If anything, she looked satisfied. Vindicated, even. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. I set it down carefully, like I was defusing a bomb. My pulse was doing that pounding thing again, loud in my ears. "You used the medication money," I said slowly, "to buy a phone." "Lena, don't start." My mom's voice had that warning edge. The tone she used when she thought I was about to make a scene. "Don't start what?" Asking about medication a doctor said I needed immediately. "The phone was important," my dad said, finally meeting my eyes. "Ava's presentation is 30% of her grade. She needed professional equipment." I stared at him. At this man who taught me to ride a bike, who came to my 6th grade science fair, who used to call me his smart girl. And I didn't recognize him at all. "Right," I said. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. "Then I guess you didn't read the warning label the pharmacist sent?" My mom's hand froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. "Warning label?" Her voice cracked. Just slightly. Just enough for me to catch it. "What warning label?" my dad asked, but his face had gone pale. Ava sighed dramatically, setting her phone face down on the table. "Lena, don't make this about you again. I needed the phone for my project. It's not like you're dying or anything." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. I leaned forward, looked my father directly in the eyes, and said, very quietly, "The doctor said the medication prevents neurological damage."
Permanent neurological damage.
As in the kind that doesn't go away. All the color drained from his face. Even his lips went pale. My mom made this small sound, like someone had punched her in the stomach. "Lena, you didn't say it was that serious. I told you it was urgent. I told you the doctor was concerned. I told you I needed to see a specialist within a week." My voice was still eerily calm. "What part of that didn't sound serious?" "Well, you should have been more clear," my dad snapped, but his hands were shaking. "I was clear. You chose Ava's phone over my health." Ava's face had gone from smug to uncertain. She picked up her phone, then set it down again. "I didn't know it was that serious," she mumbled. "Didn't you?" I turned to her. "Or, did you just not care?" "That's not fair." "Fair." I almost laughed, but it came out wrong. Brittle. "You want to talk about fair?" My mom was frantically asking questions now, words tumbling over each other. "When did I see the doctor? What exactly did he say? Could we get the prescription filled today? Tomorrow? How bad was it really?" My dad tried defending himself. "We thought the phone was on sale. We can get your medication next week." The doctor said the longer I wait, the worse it gets. I pushed my chair back, standing up. The room swayed a little, but I steadied myself with both hands on the table. "He said immediate. He said urgent. He didn't say whenever your family gets around to it." "Lena, sit down. We'll figure this out."
No.
I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. "No, I don't think we will." "Don't you dare walk out of this house," my dad barked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man, who was supposed to protect me, who was supposed to put my well-being before a phone, before his pride,
Before anything.
if anything happens to me, I said softly, remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. I walked toward the front door. My mom was calling my name. My dad was standing up, chair scraping loudly. Ava was saying something about not being dramatic. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I looked back, I might stay. And if I stayed, I might forgive them before they deserved it. I drove back to campus with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. My phone buzzed repeatedly, Mom, Dad, even Ava. I ignored all of them. The numbness in my fingers was spreading up my wrists now. The dizzy spell was getting worse. I pulled into the first urgent care clinic I could find. The waiting room was mostly empty on a Sunday evening. I checked in with a receptionist who barely looked up from her computer, then sat in one of those uncomfortable plastic chairs and tried not to think about the fact that I'd just walked out on my family, or that they'd chosen a phone over my health, or that this might actually be as serious as the campus doctor made it sound. When my name was finally called, I followed the nurse back with legs that felt like jelly. They took my vitals again. Blood pressure high, heart rate elevated, oxygen levels fine. The nurse noted the tremor in my hands when I tried to sign the consent forms. The doctor who came in was older, with silver hair and glasses that sat at the end of his nose. He reviewed my file on his tablet, frowning. You saw a campus physician last week? He asked. Yes. And he prescribed medication that you haven't started taking yet? My family was supposed to pick it up.
They didn't.
He looked at me over his glasses.
Didn't say anything.
Just looked at me in this way that made me feel simultaneously seen and utterly exposed. I need that medication, I said. My voice cracked. I need it now. Let me examine you first. The examination was more thorough than the one at campus. He tested my reflexes, my coordination, my responses. Asked detailed questions about every symptom. How long? How often? Had they gotten worse? Did anything trigger them? When he was done, he sat back and crossed his arms. I'd like to access your previous medical records. Do I have your permission?
Sure.
I mean, there's not much. I'm pretty healthy usually. He tapped at his tablet for several long minutes while I sat there picking at my thumbnail. Then his frown deepened. That's odd, he murmured. What? You're missing several years of medical data. Records from when you were. He checked the screen. Approximately 12 to 16 years old. There's a gap. My stomach dropped.
What do you mean, a gap?
I mean your pediatric records stop abruptly at age 12, then don't resume until you were 17. For years of nothing.
He looked at me.
Do you know why that would be?
No.
I don't remember being sick during that time. I mean, I had the usual stuff, colds, flu, but nothing serious. Has someone been altering your medical file? The question hit me like cold water.
What? No.
Who would? Why would anyone do that? He showed me his screen, though I couldn't make sense of most of it. These access logs show your file was opened multiple times from an administrative account. Changes were made to your patient history. Specifically, several diagnostic codes were removed. My brain felt like it was short-circuiting. I don't understand. Why would someone remove diagnostic codes? That's what concerns me. The doctor's voice was gentle but serious. Sometimes family members who have access to patient portals make alterations when they disagree with a diagnosis, or when they want to prevent certain treatments from being recommended. The room felt too small suddenly. Too hot. My parents wouldn't. Except maybe they would. Maybe they already had. I want to run some more advanced tests, he continued. And I'm going to refer you to a neurologist. This should have been addressed years ago. Years. My voice came out as a whisper. What do you mean, years? He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Based on your current presentation and the progression of symptoms you've described, this isn't something that developed in the last few months. This is something that's been building for quite some time. The tests took 2 hours. Blood work, another neurological exam, something called an EEG, where they stuck electrodes to my head and told me to close my eyes. I lay there under the fluorescent lights, trying not to think about missing medical records and altered files and the possibility that someone in my family had been lying to me for years. When it was over, the doctor wrote me a prescription, the same one the campus doctor had prescribed, and handed it to me with very specific instructions. Take this twice daily. Don't skip doses. Don't wait. And see this neurologist. He handed me a referral card. I'm marking this as urgent. How urgent? I'm noting on your file that you should be seen within 72 hours. If they can't accommodate that, call me directly. He wrote his cell number on the back of the card. Doctors don't give out their cell numbers for minor issues. I walked out of the clinic with prescriptions clutched in my hand and got them filled at the 24-hour pharmacy next door. Stood there under the harsh lights watching the pharmacist count out pills into an orange bottle and felt something fundamental shift inside me. This was real. This was happening. And for some reason I didn't understand yet, someone had tried to hide it from me. My phone had been buzzing nonstop. I finally looked at it while waiting for my prescription. 17 missed calls. 32 text messages. Most were from my mom. Please call us. We're worried. Come home so we can talk. Don't be upset. We can fix this. A few from my dad. This is ridiculous. Stop overreacting. Call your mother. And one from Ava. Why are you being like this? It's just a phone. I stared at that last one for a long moment. Then I opened a new message to my mom. I'm not coming home tonight. Her response was immediate. Where are you? We need to talk. I'm getting my medication. The medication you were supposed to get for me. Lena, please.
Come home.
We need to talk about something important. My fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Something important. What could possibly be more important than the fact that they'd prioritized a phone over medication their daughter desperately needed? I'm not ready to talk to you. I typed back. My dad's text came through seconds later. Please don't involve outsiders in family business. Outsiders. He meant doctors, medical professionals who were actually taking my condition seriously. I didn't respond to that one. I picked up my medication, took the first dose right there in the pharmacy, and drove to the one person I thought might actually tell me the truth. My Aunt Linda, my mom's older sister. She lived about 20 minutes from campus in a small ranch house with a garden that always smelled like lavender. She opened the door in her bathrobe, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without a word. I'll make tea, she said. We sat at her kitchen table, her in her bathrobe, me still in the clothes I'd worn to Sunday lunch that now felt like a lifetime ago. She set a mug of chamomile in front of me and waited. I told her everything. The fainting spell, the campus doctor, the prescription my parents never filled, the urgent care visit, the missing medical records. She didn't look surprised. That's what got me. The complete lack of surprise on her face. You knew, I said flatly. You knew something was wrong. Aunt Linda wrapped her hands around her own mug and sighed. I didn't know about the current medication. Your mother hasn't told me much lately. But... She paused, seeming to wrestle with something. Lena, there are things about your family's finances that you don't know. What things? Do you remember when Ava started at that expensive music academy? When she was 14?
Yeah.
Mom and Dad said it was an investment in her future.
It was.
But that money had to come from somewhere. Aunt Linda looked at me steadily. It came from medical savings they'd set aside for you. The mug slipped in my hands. Tea sloshed onto the table. What? You were having health issues back then, too. Do you remember? You were 13, 14. You kept getting dizzy. Your hands would go numb. They took you to doctors, several doctors, and there was talk of running extensive tests. Expensive tests. Pieces were clicking together in my head, but they formed a picture I didn't want to see. I don't remember any of that. Your mother didn't want you to worry. She told you it was just growing pains. Just stress from school. But they knew. They'd been told you needed follow-up care. And they used that money on Ava instead. Aunt Linda didn't answer, which was answer enough. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping loud in the quiet kitchen. Paced to the window and back. Tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest that had nothing to do with my medical condition. They sacrificed my health, I said quietly. for her music career. I don't think they saw it that way at the time. I think they convinced themselves you were fine, that the doctors were being overly cautious, that Ava's opportunity was time-sensitive and your medical issues could wait. But they couldn't wait. That doctor today said this has been building for years. I know, honey. I know. A memory surfaced, hazy and fragmented. I was maybe 14, lying in a hospital bed, the lights too bright.
My mom was crying.
I remembered her saying something. What was it? Something about how I could know something. She can't know. She's too young. What couldn't I know? I asked aloud. Aunt Linda's expression shifted, became guarded. What do you mean? I just remembered something. Being in a hospital. Mom was crying and she said I couldn't know something because I was too young. What was she talking about? My aunt was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was careful. You should ask your parents about that. I'm asking you. Lena, please. I was begging now. Please just tell me the truth. What don't I know? She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them and looked at me with something like grief. When you were 14, you were diagnosed with a rare condition. I don't remember the exact name. Something neurological. The doctors wanted to start treatment immediately, medication, monitoring lifestyle changes. It was expensive. Long-term expensive. The kitchen felt airless. And my parents said no. They said they needed time to think about it, to get second opinions, to understand all the options.
Her voice was bitter now.
But what they really wanted was time to figure out how to afford Ava's music school. And by the time they'd made that decision, they were too ashamed to tell you the truth about why they delayed your treatment. So, they just pretended it never happened? They convinced themselves you were fine, that the symptoms had gone away, that the doctors had been wrong. But I wasn't fine. My voice broke. I'm still not fine. Aunt Linda stood and pulled me into a hug. I let myself collapse against her, shaking with anger and grief and betrayal. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered against her shoulder. I tried talking to your mother. Multiple times. She said they were handling it, that they knew what was best for you. She pulled back, hands on my shoulders.
I am sorry.
I should have done more. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ava. Don't ask Dad. Ask Mom. I showed it to Aunt Linda. She read it and shook her head. Your sister knows more than she's letting on. Everyone knows more than I do. I felt bitter laughter bubble up. I'm the only one who didn't know my own medical history was being hidden from me. I left Aunt Linda's house with more questions than answers and drove aimlessly for a while, just trying to process everything. Eventually, I found myself in the hospital parking lot where I'd been born, where I'd had countless childhood appointments, where apparently I'd spent time as a teenager that I couldn't even remember properly. I sat in my car staring at the building. Somewhere in there were records about me. Records someone had altered or deleted or hidden. Records that might explain why my parents had made the choices they did.
My phone rang. My mom.
I almost didn't answer, but some small part of me still hoped she'd have a reasonable explanation. Lena. Her voice was tight with panic. Where are you? Please, you need to come home. We need to talk. I'm not coming home. This isn't something we can discuss over the phone. Then I guess we're not discussing it. I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded.
You don't understand.
There are things you don't know. That's the problem, Mom. There are a lot of things I don't know. Things you deliberately kept from me. Things you and Dad decided I wasn't allowed to know. Silence. Then, quietly. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? Linda. Not a question. An accusation. She told you. She told me enough. Told me that when I was 14, I had a diagnosis that you ignored. That you used money meant for my medical care to pay for Ava's music school. That you've been lying to me for years. It's not that simple. It seems pretty simple to me. Please just come home so we can explain.
No.
I hung up. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't just the medical symptoms. It was rage. Pure, clean rage. I got out of my car and walked into the hospital. The records department was on the second floor, past the cafeteria and through a maze of corridors that all looked identical. I found it finally, a small office with a counter and a middle-aged woman typing away at a computer. Can I help you? I need to access my medical records. Old ones. From when I was a teenager. She had me fill out a form, show my ID, sign releases. Then she disappeared into a back room while I stood there under the fluorescent lights, feeling like I was about to open Pandora's box. When she came back, she looked uncomfortable. Is there a problem?
I asked.
Well, she set a thin folder on the counter. Your file is unusually sparse for someone your age, and several sections are marked as restricted. Restricted how? Restricted as in only a parent or legal guardian can access them. But they're my records, about my health. I understand, but these restrictions were put in place when you were a minor. You're over 18 now, but the flags are still active in the system. She opened the folder, showing me pages that were almost entirely redacted. Black bars covered most of the text. I can request to have them unrestricted, but it requires authorization from whoever set the restrictions originally. My parents. Most likely, yes. I stared at the censored pages. My own medical history hidden from me behind black bars and parental override codes. Can you at least tell me what years these restrictions cover? She checked her computer. Ages 12 through 16. For years. The same gap the urgent care doctor had noticed. That's very unusual, the receptionist added, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. Most parents don't restrict access to routine medical records. What about appointment history? Can you tell me if I had appointments during those years, even if you can't tell me what they were for? She hesitated, then typed something. Her eyebrows went up.
Oh, yes.
Quite a few appointments, actually. Multiple specialists. Neurology, definitely.
Some with.
She squinted at the screen. Looks like a genetic counselor? My heart was pounding again. A genetic counselor? Why would I see a genetic counselor? I can't access the notes. I'm sorry. What about the pharmacy? Can you see what prescriptions were written? More typing. More uncomfortable frowning. There were several prescriptions written during that time period, but they were all canceled or never filled. All of them. According to this, yes. Someone with parental portal access marked them as patient declined or family requested alternative treatment. But I didn't decline anything. I didn't even know I needed treatment. Can you tell me what the prescriptions were for? I can't see the specific medications. Those details are behind the restriction. I pulled out my current prescription bottle. Was it this? Was one of them this medication? She glanced at the label, then back at her screen. Wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I really can't say. Which meant yes. Which meant years ago, doctors had tried to prescribe exactly what I was taking now, and someone had prevented me from getting it. I left the hospital in a daze and called the neurologist's office from my car. They could see me tomorrow at 9 a.m. if I was willing to come in for a cancellation slot. I said yes immediately. Then I just sat there, trying to piece together the fragments of information I'd gathered. The missing records. The canceled prescriptions. The genetic counselor. The years of silence and lies. My phone buzzed. The pharmacist's name appeared on the screen. I'd given him my number when I picked up the prescription. Ms. Patterson? This is David from East Side Pharmacy. I have some concerning information about your medication that I think you should be aware of. Okay. When I was filling your prescription, I ran a routine check through our system. Your medication was prescribed to you once before, about 8 years ago, at our sister location. 8 years ago, I would have been 14. The notes in our system indicate there was an urgent warning attached to that prescription. Something about critical risk classification. But when I checked your current file, your risk level is marked as low. I don't understand. How can that be? That's what concerned me. So I did some digging. Someone with portal access changed your risk classification last week. Changed it from critical to low. That's not something that happens accidentally. The parking lot seemed to tilt. Someone deliberately downgraded how serious my condition is? I can't speculate on intent, but yes, the classification was changed. And because of that change, your current prescription wasn't flagged as urgent when your parents picked up the... He paused. Wait, did you say your parents didn't pick this up? They never went to the pharmacy.
Oh,
Oh no. Ms. Patterson, when someone with portal access changes a risk classification and then doesn't pick up a critical medication, that raises serious red flags.
I think you need to document this.
This might be medical neglect. Medical neglect. The words hung in the air like smoke. Who changed my classification? The access log shows it was done from your father's portal account. I don't remember driving back to campus. One minute I was in the hospital parking lot, the next I was sitting in my dorm room staring at my laptop screen. I logged into my patient portal, something I'd barely ever used because my parents always handled medical stuff for me. Created a new password because I'd forgotten the old one. Waited for the verification email. When I finally got in, I went straight to the activity log. My father's account had accessed my file 6 times in the last month. Each time, he'd made changes. Removed flags. Downgraded urgency markers. Edited symptom notes I'd entered. One entry showed he'd actually changed my reported symptoms from severe and worsening to mild and intermittent. He'd literally rewritten my medical history to make me seem less sick than I was. A memory surfaced, sharp and clear this time. I was maybe 15, sitting on the edge of a hospital bed. A doctor, a woman with kind eyes, was talking to my parents in the hallway. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see my father's face. Angry. Defensive. My mother was crying. Then my father came back in and said, "Get dressed. We're leaving." The doctor doesn't know what she's talking about. We left. I don't remember ever going back. But I must have. Because my file said I had multiple appointments over the next year. Appointments I have almost no memory of. What else had they hidden from me? What else had they convinced me didn't happen? My phone rang again.
Mom.
I answered this time, but I didn't speak. Lena. Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying. Please. We need to talk. In person. There are things you need to understand. I understand plenty. I understand that you and Dad have been lying to me for years. That you used money meant for my health care on Ava. That Dad has been accessing my medical files and changing them to make me seem less sick. Silence. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. How did you find out? She whispered finally. Does it matter? It's true, isn't it? It's not. It's more complicated than that. Try me. I've got time. Not over the phone. Please come home.
Why?
So you can gaslight me in person? So I can explain why we made the choices we did. You mean why you chose Ava over me? Why you gambled with my health, so she could have music lessons? That's not. Her voice broke. Lena, there are things about our family you don't know. Medical things. Things we were trying to protect you from. That stopped me. What medical things? I can't, not like this. Please just come home. Or, let me come to you. But we can't talk about this over the phone. Give me one good reason why I should believe anything you say. Because I'm your mother. And despite what you think right now, I love you. I've always loved you. Funny way of showing it. I hung up, but her words stuck with me. Medical things about our family. Things they were trying to protect me from. I thought about the genetic counselor. About the way the hospital receptionist had looked uncomfortable when she saw my file. About the urgency in that campus doctor's voice. What exactly did I have? What had I always had that no one would name? I texted Ava. What do you know about my medical condition? She didn't respond for 10 minutes. Then, I don't want to get involved. You're already involved. What did you mean earlier when you said not to ask Dad? Another long pause. Mom knows more than him. About the tests. About what they found when you were younger. What tests? What did they find? I don't know the details. I just know it's genetic. And Mom was scared. Genetic how? I really don't want to talk about this. Ava. I heard them fighting once. When you were in the hospital that time. Mom wanted to tell you everything and Dad said you were too young and it would just scare you and maybe you'd grow out of it and I'm not going to grow out of a genetic condition. I know. I know that now, okay? But I was like 12 and I didn't understand what they were talking about, and I just wanted everyone to stop yelling. I stared at my phone, at my little sister's panicked texts, and felt something soften slightly. She'd been a kid too. She'd been kept in the dark almost as much as I had. What else do you remember? I typed. Just that they were scared. Really scared. And after that they started acting like everything was fine. Like nothing was wrong. And you seemed okay, so I thought maybe it was fine. It's not fine. I know. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about genetic conditions, about hidden diagnoses, about parents who loved their children but made terrible choices anyway. The neurologist's office called at 8 a.m. Could I come in early? They'd had another cancellation and the doctor wanted to see me as soon as possible. I was there by 8:30. The neurologist was a woman in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and steady hands. Dr. Sarah Chun, according to her name tag. She reviewed my files, both the current ones and whatever records she'd been able to access from my past for a long time before speaking. Lena, she said finally, I need you to be completely honest with me. What do you know about your family medical history? Apparently nothing. That's why I'm here. She pulled up images on her computer. Brain scans, I realized. MRIs. These are from 5 years ago. Did you know you had these done? I stared at the images.
No.
And these are from last week. She put them side by side. Even to my untrained eye, I could see the difference. Something in the second image that wasn't in the first. Something that looked wrong. What is that? My voice came out hoarse. That, Dr. Chin said gently, is inflammation. Progressive neurological inflammation that should have been treated 5 years ago when it first appeared. The room seemed to narrow to just her face, her steady eyes, her careful expression. What happens if it's not treated? I asked. Let's focus on getting you treated now. That's not an answer. She sighed. Untreated, this type of inflammation can cause permanent damage. Motor function impairment. Sensory issues. In severe cases, seizures. Am I severe? You're getting there. Another few months. She didn't finish the sentence.
Didn't need to.
And 5 years ago? If I'd been treated then, you'd be fine. No lasting damage at all. I felt something break inside me. Some last fragile hope that maybe my parents had just made a mistake. That maybe they didn't know how serious it was. But they did know. They had these scans. They saw these images. And they chose to do nothing. There's something else, Dr. Chin said carefully. The pattern of inflammation you have, it's consistent with a genetic marker. One that often runs in families. Meaning this might not be random. Meaning someone in your family might have the same condition. Or be a carrier. My parents would have told me if. Would they have? She looked at me over her glasses, not unkindly. And I didn't have an answer to that. I sat in Dr. Chen's office, staring at those brain scans, and something inside me just shattered.
Not loudly.
Not dramatically. Just a quiet, irreversible breaking. I need to talk to my mother, I said. Dr. Chen handed me her business card. Call me if you need anything. And Lena? Start the medication today. Don't wait another hour. I drove to my mother's workplace, a dental office where she worked as a receptionist. I texted her from the parking lot. Come outside.
Now.
She appeared 3 minutes later, pale and trembling, her work badge still clipped to her cardigan. She walked toward my car like she was approaching a bomb that might detonate. I got out, stood there with my arms crossed, waited. Lena, don't. My voice was flat.
Dead.
Just tell me the truth. All of it. She looked around the parking lot, checking if anyone could hear us. Then she grabbed my wrist, not roughly but desperately, and pulled me toward the side of the building where the dumpsters were. Private.
Hidden.
I begged your father not to do it, she whispered. Her eyes were already red, already filling with tears. When you were 14 and the doctors said you needed treatment, I begged him. I said we couldn't wait. But he said we couldn't risk everything for something that might be serious. Might be. I pulled my wrist away. The scans were right there. The diagnosis was clear. He convinced me it could wait, that we could see if it got worse, that maybe you'd outgrow it. She was crying now, mascara tracking down her cheeks. The doctors suspected a degenerative neurological disorder. Treatment was expensive, long-term expensive, and your father said, let me guess, Ava's music school was more important. She flinched like I'd slapped her. We had the money.
We did. But your father invested it.
He said it was for all of our futures. A business opportunity that couldn't miss. And then it failed. All of it. Gone. So they'd gambled my health on a business deal. And lost. By the time you collapsed again, my mother continued, her voice breaking, we were too ashamed to tell you. Too ashamed to admit we'd waited. That we'd chosen wrong. Ashamed. I laughed, but it came out wrong. Hollow. You were ashamed. So you just…
What?
Pretended it never happened. Your father accessed your medical records. Changed things. Made it look less serious so doctors wouldn't push expensive tests. He thought if we could just keep you stable until you graduated, until you had your own insurance. Until it became my problem instead of yours.
She didn't deny it.
I thought about Ava. About her music school. Her competitions. Her new phone. Does Ava know? About all of this. She overheard us fighting years ago. She knows you had a condition we didn't treat. She's been terrified you'd find out and blame her. I don't blame her. She was a kid. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. At this woman who'd packed my lunches and braided my hair and tucked me in at night. I blame you.
And Dad.
You had a choice. Every single day for years, you had a choice. Please don't leave. She reached for me again. We can fix this. We'll pay for everything now. Whatever you need. You can't fix 10 years of silence. I stepped back. You can't undamage my brain. You can't give me back the years I could have been healthy. Lena.
No.
I turned toward my car. You chose her. Every time. Every single time. And now I'm choosing me. I drove away while she stood there crying in the parking lot. I was almost back to campus when Ava called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Lena? Her voice was small.
Scared.
Mom just called me. She's really upset.
Good.
Don't leave. Please. We can work this out. As a family.
I pulled over.
Put the car in park. Close my eyes. Ava, did you know I was sick? When we were younger? Silence. Ava. I heard them fighting one night, she whispered. You were in the hospital. Dad was yelling at Mom that they couldn't afford both. Your treatment and my school. And Mom was crying and saying they had to find a way. And then Dad said. Her voice broke. He said that keeping you calm was better than scaring you with a diagnosis you couldn't understand. And you agreed with him? I was 12. I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand how serious it was. But you know now. You've known for years. And you didn't say anything. I was scared. She was crying now. I was scared you'd hate me. That you'd blame me for their choices. That everything would fall apart. Everything is falling apart, Ava. It's been falling apart for years. We just pretended it wasn't. Please don't hate me. I wanted to hate her. It would be easier than this complicated mess of love and anger and grief. But she was my sister. And she'd been a kid caught in the same web of lies I had. I don't hate you, I said finally. But I can't be around any of you right now. I need space. I need time. How much time? I don't know. I hung up before she could say anything else. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and a voicemail from my father. I listened to it while taking my medication, the medication I should have been taking for years. Lena, listen. Don't talk to anyone about the tests. We can sort this out privately. Family business stays in the family. Call me back. I deleted it. Dr. Chen's office called at 9. Can you come in today? Your lab results are back and the doctor wants to discuss them with you immediately.
I was there by 10.
Dr. Chen's expression when I walked into her office told me everything I needed to know. This was going to be bad. She pulled up 2 MRI scans on her computer screen. One labeled 5 years ago, and one labeled last week. Even I could see the difference. The newer scan showed shadows that weren't in the old one. Patterns that looked wrong. "Lena," she said gently, "you should have been treated back then. The progression is significant." I already knew this, but hearing it stated so clearly, so finally, made something collapse inside me. "You have an early-stage but progressive neurological inflammation disorder. It's treatable, but the delay in treatment has complicated things." Complicated how? My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Long-term risks include partial motor delays, recurring fainting spells, potential nerve damage.
She paused.
Most of this could have been prevented if you'd started treatment 5 years ago. I sank into the chair. My hands were shaking. Is it my fault? For not pushing harder? For not?
No. Her voice was firm.
Sharp. You were a child. You trusted the adults in your life to protect you. This is not your fault. But it felt like my fault. It felt like I should have known. Should have fought harder. Should have demanded answers instead of accepting their dismissals. "We'll start aggressive treatment immediately," Dr. Chin continued. "Medication twice daily. Weekly monitoring. And you need to avoid stress and overexertion." She looked at me carefully. "Is there someone who can support you through this? Family? Friends?" I thought about my parents. About Ava. About the fact that the people who should have been my support system were the ones who'd caused this. "I'll figure it out," I whispered. After the appointment, I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Not the angry crying from before, just exhausted, grief-stricken sobbing that came from somewhere deep and broken inside me. An elderly woman tapped on my window. I looked up, embarrassed, and she gestured for me to roll it down. "You okay, dear?"
"I'm fine."
"Thank you." She handed me a tissue through the window. "I saw you coming out of neurology. I had my appointment today, too." She smiled sadly. "Family doesn't always mean they protect you, dear. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves." Those words hit harder than any diagnosis. When I finally checked my phone, there were 7 missed calls from my father and 1 long voicemail. I listened to it. "Lena, you need to stop talking to doctors about family matters. This is between us. We'll handle the medical bills. We'll handle everything. But you need to stop making us look like monsters. Call me back. We need to discuss this privately." I texted him back. "You don't get to decide anything about my health anymore." His response was immediate. "You're being dramatic. This is exactly why we didn't tell you. You overreact." I stared at that text for a long time. Then I blocked his number.
My phone rang again.
"Aunt Linda. I heard about the appointment," she said. "How are you?" "Honestly, I don't know. Your mother called me. She's devastated." "Good. Lena." She had years to be devastated, Aunt Linda. Years to tell me the truth. Years to fight for me. She chose not to. Silence. Then, "You're right. You're absolutely right. I wanted you to know that she does love you. She just loves badly sometimes." That's not good enough. I know. After we hung up, I took my first dose of medication and thought about all the doses I should have taken over the years. All the doctor's appointments I should have had. All the monitoring that never happened. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Aunt Linda. "I need to tell you something about your father. About the year you first fainted. It wasn't just about money, Lena. There's more to the story. Call me when you're ready." My hands started shaking again, but this time from fear. I drove to Aunt Linda's house that evening. She opened the door with red eyes, like she'd been crying. "I should have told you this years ago," she said. We sat at her kitchen table. She made tea neither of us drank. "The year you first collapsed," she began, "your father was in serious financial trouble. Gambling debts. He'd been hiding it from everyone, even your mother. When your medical bills came, he panicked." Gambling. I'd never seen my father gamble. Not once. Online poker. Sports betting. It started small, then spiraled. By the time you needed treatment, he owed more than $50,000 to some very serious people. The room tilted slightly. He gambled away my treatment money? The treatment fund was the last liquid asset he had. If he used it, the bank would have seized the house. We would have lost everything. She looked at me with devastation in her eyes. He chose the house. He chose protecting his image. He chose anything except you. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My father, the man who taught me to ride a bike, who came to my science fairs, had literally gambled my health away. Your mother stayed silent because she was terrified. If she exposed the truth, the family would collapse. Ava's life would change drastically. And she convinced herself that maybe you'd be okay without treatment. That maybe the doctors were wrong. But they weren't wrong.
No.
They weren't. Aunt Linda stood and retrieved an old envelope from a drawer. Handed it to me with shaking hands. This came to the house 8 years ago. Your father intercepted it before your mother could see it. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from a specialist. Immediate treatment recommended for patient Lena Patterson. Delaying further may cause long-term neurological damage. Please contact our office to schedule treatment within 72 hours. The date on the letter was from when I was 15. He hid this, I said flatly. He hid everything. And he told everyone, family, friends, neighbors, that you were exaggerating, that you were overdramatic, that there was nothing really wrong with you. Aunt Linda's voice shook with anger. He destroyed your credibility, so no one would take your symptoms seriously. I left Aunt Linda's house in a daze and drove straight to Ava's school. She was at some evening rehearsal. I found her backstage, adjusting her makeup. We need to talk. She looked up, saw my face, and went pale. What happened? Did you know about Dad's gambling? All the color drained from her face. How did you? So you did know. I found out last year. I saw credit card statements. Confronted Mom about it. She looked down at her hands. She begged me not to tell you. Said it would break you. Break me? Ava. Their lies almost destroyed my brain. I know. She was crying now. I know, okay? I've known for months, and I didn't know what to do, and I'm so sorry. Before I could respond, my father appeared in the doorway. What are you doing here? His voice was sharp. Angry. I could ask you the same thing. Your sister has a performance. I don't care. I turned to face him fully. I know about the gambling.
About the debts.
About the letter you hid from the specialist. His face went from red to white. That's private family business. Private? You gambled away money meant to save my life, and you call it private? People were starting to gather. Other students.
Parents. Teachers.
Lower your voice, my father hissed.
Why?
Worried people will find out what you did. I was shaking, but I didn't care. Worried they'll know you chose poker over your daughter's health. I was trying to save our family. You were trying to save yourself. My voice echoed in the backstage area. You gambled away my future, so you could cover your mistakes. I did what I had to do. You let me suffer for years. You changed my medical records. You hid letters from specialists. You told everyone I was dramatic, so they wouldn't believe me when I said something was wrong. My mother appeared then, looking horrified. Lena, please, not here. But I was done protecting their image. Done pretending everything was fine. I wasn't going to waste money on a maybe, my father suddenly shouted, when Ava had real potential. The entire room went silent. Even the music stopped. Dozens of people stood frozen, staring at us. At him. At the man who just admitted he valued one daughter's potential over the other daughter's health. My mother made this awful choking sound. Her hands flew to her mouth. Ava burst into tears and ran out the back door. And I felt the last thread connecting me to my father snap, like a rotten rope. I hope it was worth it, I said quietly. I hope her music career was worth gambling my life away. I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't care about the whispers or the stares or the way my mother called my name. I was done. The fallout was immediate. News of the confrontation spread through Ava's school, then to the neighborhood, then to our extended family. People I hadn't talked to in years were suddenly calling, texting, asking if it was true. If my father had really done what everyone was saying. I didn't respond to most of them. What was there to say? My father became increasingly defensive.
Angry.
I heard through Aunt Linda that he was telling people I was lying, exaggerating, making him look bad out of spite. The same words he'd used for years to dismiss my symptoms. Dr. Chen called me in for my 1-week follow-up. She sat me down with a serious expression. I need to tell you something. The medical neglect you experienced, the altered records, the intercepted prescriptions, the delayed treatment, it rises to a level that should be reported. Reported to who? The hospital board. Possibly Adult Protective Services, even though you're over 18 now. The pattern of behavior suggests systematic medical neglect of a minor. I thought about my father, about the gambling, about the years of lies.
Do it, I said.
She nodded slowly. This might get complicated. Your family will be questioned. There could be legal ramifications.
Good.
I started therapy the following week. Not just for the trauma of the diagnosis, but for everything. The years of being dismissed. The favoritism. The realization that I'd been systematically gaslit about my own health. My therapist was a woman in her 40s named Dr. Reed. She listened to my story without interrupting, her expression carefully neutral. When I finished, she said, "You know this wasn't your fault, right? Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true. You were a child. You trusted your parents to protect you. That trust wasn't misplaced, their actions were." It took 3 sessions before I could say it out loud without crying. My parents chose my sister over me. Yes, Dr. Reed said gently. They did. And that was wrong. Ava showed up at my apartment one evening. I almost didn't let her in, but something about the way she was crying made me open the door. She handed me a small notebook. Her childhood diary. "Read the entry from when I was 12, she whispered. I flipped to the date she indicated. The handwriting was messy, childish. I hope one day Mom and Dad love her like they love me. I don't know why they don't. Lena is smarter and nicer, and she never complains even when she's sick. I wish I could fix it, but I'm just a kid, and nobody listens to kids." I looked up at my sister. Really looked at her. She was 17. Still basically a kid. And she'd been carrying this guilt for years. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I should have done something. Said something. I should have." I pulled her into a hug. She collapsed against me, crying into my shoulder. "You were a kid," I said. "This wasn't your responsibility." But I knew. I knew they were treating you wrong, and I didn't. "You were a kid," I repeated firmly. "This was on them, not you." We sat on my couch for an hour while she cried. I didn't cry. I think I'd run out of tears. My mother tried to make amends. She brought boxes of receipts and old letters, proof that she'd fought for me, at least at first. Proof that she'd tried to stand up to my father before she gave up. "I was weak," she said, sitting in my apartment with red eyes. "I should have been stronger. Should have protected you better. I let him convince me that we were doing the right thing." "You weren't weak. You were complicit." She flinched. "I know. I know that now. And I'm so sorry." I wanted to forgive her. Part of me did forgive her. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. Didn't mean pretending it never happened. "I need time," I told her. "A lot of time." "I understand." She stood to leave, then paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For fighting for yourself. For being stronger than I was." My father tried visiting my apartment twice. The first time, I didn't answer the door. The second time, I opened it just wide enough to talk. "You need to withdraw the medical report," he said without preamble. "It's making us look like monsters. You are monsters. We did what we thought was best. You gambled away my treatment money. You hid letters from specialists. You altered my medical records to make me seem less sick. You told everyone I was dramatic, so they wouldn't believe me." I looked him in the eye. "Those aren't the actions of someone doing their best. Those are the actions of a coward. How dare you?" You abandoned your responsibility as a father long before I abandoned you as a daughter. I started to close the door. We're done here. Lena. I closed the door, locked it, stood there listening to him knock and call my name for 5 minutes before he finally left.
I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad.
I just felt free. 3 weeks later, Dr. Chen called with good news. Your latest scans show improvement. The inflammation is responding to treatment. You came just in time, Lena. Just in time. After years of being too late. But I'd take it. I signed a lease for my own apartment near campus. Nothing fancy. Just a small one-bedroom with decent light and enough space for me to breathe. For the first time in my life, I felt like I controlled my own future. My own health. My own choices. I set up my medication station on the kitchen counter. Pill organizer. Water bottle. Alarm on my phone. This was my routine now. My responsibility. And I wouldn't let anyone take it from me again. Ava helped me move in. We didn't talk much, but we didn't need to. She was trying. That was enough for now. My mother came by once, bringing groceries and cleaning supplies. She didn't stay long. Just helped me unpack the kitchen, hugged me carefully, and left. My father didn't come at all. I didn't expect him to. That night, I sat at my desk in my new apartment. The medication bottle sat beside my laptop. I opened a new document and started writing. They chose not to save me. So, I chose myself. And this time, I'm not apologizing for it. I turned off the lamp and sat in the darkness of my new home, feeling something I hadn't felt in years.
Peace.
Not happiness. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time.
But peace.
And for now, that was enough. Have you ever had to choose between forgiving family and protecting yourself? And if you did, do you think you made the right choice? Like and subscribe for more stories about the complicated truth of family bonds.